Hi everyone, I'm Angela, Siblings A&J Gardening. I want to bring you all along with me this evening. I'm getting ready to process these tomatoes because I'm going to start canning tomatoes today. I washed them up and cleaned them yesterday and left them drying on this kitchen towel. I've got water boiling on the stove so I can immerse them in the water so I can peel the skins easier. And what I'm going to do is core them and then score them with an X at the bottom. I have boiling water heating on the stove. I'm going to let them sit in that water for probably 2 to 3 minutes, and then I'm going to immerse them in the Quarts ice water that I have in the sink. The way I process, this is the way I did it last year. I ran the tomatoes through my food processor. I'm not sure whether I'm going to do that this time. I may try to mash them with the potato masher. If they're not the right consistency, then I will run the tomatoes through the food processor and then cook them on top of the stove to thicken my sauce, because I kind of like a thick sauce with my tomato sauce. It's really raining outside, so you may hear some thunder. We're under a thunderstorm warning right now, and the lights may blink also because they've been blinking. And then I'm going to, once I get my sauce cooked to the consistency that I want it, and I don't add anything. I don't add onions or anything. I like to have mine plain. So when I get a jar, if I want to make spaghetti sauce or if I want to put in chili, I can adapt it to anything. So I typically just leave it plain. Excuse me. And for a quart, you're going to use a tablespoon of lemon juice. For a pint, you're going to use half a teaspoon of lemon juice. And you can add a little salt to each jar as you process it also. But I'm going to get to coring these. And some of them are really, really big tomatoes too. And you want to be careful when you're doing this. You don't want a tomato that has a lot of bad places on it. Cut those parts away. You don't want to put that in or make tomato sauce out of those parts. And then I'm just going to score this with an X. Let me get a pen. Usually when I do this, I have a lot of tomatoes, and I'm kind of glad this time I don't have as many because it's pretty late in the evening. And once I get the sauce to the consistency where I like it, you have to process it for 40 minutes in the can or in the water bath. And I still have several cans left from jars left from last year that I haven't totally used yet. But this is going to be my first batch of making the sauce this year. But I'm just going to keep on coring these. And then, like I said, I have my hot water boiling on the stove. And then once I get these cored and score my X in it, I'm going to immerse them in that hot water for probably 3 to 4 minutes. It just depends. If the water's hot enough, sometimes it doesn't take as long. And you don't want them to cook too long, because you don't want them mushy. And then I'll just immerse them, like I said, in the sink with the cool water. And then I will peel the skins off, and then I will put these in a saucepan to cook. And I will mash them as they cook also. Like I said, last year I used the food processor. I don't know that I'm going to use it this time. I'm not sure. But once I get them in the pan, I'll just mash them like I'm mashing mashed potatoes and see how that works. But I'm just going to keep cutting up these tomatoes, and I will bring you back in just a little. Okay, I'm back, and I'm starting to peel my tomatoes. I want you all to see how easy they are to peel once you immerse them in the hot water. Very easy to peel. You know, it's really nice. Last year is the first time I started to can tomatoes. Before I would freeze them. And I decided last year, especially with the grocery prices, I just started making my own sauce, and can't tell you how nice it is. You just go downstairs and go to your canning food pantry. And it's nice too because you grew the stuff. I grew all the tomatoes from seed. So it's very rewarding. The older I get, the more I like it. And I've said in previous videos, when I was a kid, I did not like working in that garden. I didn't like it at all. It was hot. I didn't like the bugs. And I enjoyed the food, but I didn't appreciate it like I appreciate it now. But I was going to show you all too how I get them out of the hot water. I take one of these steamers, the drain part, and I scoop the tomatoes out with that. And that seems to work pretty well. This one's coming apart. I had to put the cold water in this bowl because the water kept draining out of my sink for some reason. And I made the ice water twice, so I decided I'd do this so I wouldn't lose any more of the ice, because I don't have that much left in the refrigerator. Okay, rinse my hands. And this is what I'm going to use to scoop that out of the hot water. I'll let that drain. And then I just immerse them in the cold water. I'm just going to keep doing this until I get all the skins off. And then once I get my tomatoes cooking, I'm going to go ahead and clean my jars and have those processing, because I'm going to water bath the sauce. And when I get to that next step, I will bring you guys back with me. Okay, I have this pot going. And I'll just keep mashing. I just started this one here, and I will keep mashing over here. I may have to put these through a cheesecloth if I don't get the food processor out. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do just yet, but I'm just gonna keep mashing these and let these cook down. This first pot I started, it's cooking down pretty good. I will recommend that you have a deep pot, because it does splatter because you have the heat up so high, and you have to constantly keep stirring and mashing. But this first pot is getting to the consistency that I want. So I'm going to start washing my jars and get those heating up so they can get sterilized. Okay, I've got my tomatoes reduced to the thickness that I want. I'm going to start my canning process. You want 2 tablespoons of lemon juice per quart. And you don't want fresh squeezed lemon juice. You want lemon juice out of the jar. Uh-oh. Put that there and bring this over here. I'm going ahead and getting the lemon juice in each jar, because if I don't, I will forget, start talking and ladling, and then won't remember whether or not I put lemon juice in the jar. because that's what happened to me last year. It was like, okay, oh, did I put lemon juice in the jar? I couldn't remember. And it's also optional. 2 tablespoons of lemon juice, and then you can use a teaspoon of salt, but I'm not going to add any salt. And like I said, you can make your sauce to where you put garlic and onion and all of that in it. I like to make mine plain because I just don't know how many I'm going to need with spaghetti sauce, you know, the seasonings that you use with spaghetti, or whether I'm going to make chili, or whether I'm going to make lasagna. So I like to just leave it plain, and then I add the seasonings when I cook the actual dish. And you want to fill it up to that bottom rim. This rim right here. And I'm just going to keep ladling this in. And like I said, I let it cook down for another 30 minutes because I like mine a little chunky. And I was going to strain it, but I decided not to strain it. I think next time when I make the sauce, I'll go ahead and put it in the food processor like I did last year, and then heat it on the stove. It goes a lot quicker because it's pretty late in the evening now. I weathered the storm. I was afraid I was going to lose power because the lights kept flickering, but thank goodness I didn't. But I'm just going to keep ladling these, and you're going to can these. You're going to process this for 40 minutes. And I went ahead and cleaned 7 jars. I don't know exactly how much this is going to make. I may have to wash some more jars and get those sanitized, but I'll see how it goes. If I have just 1 quart left, I'll just go ahead and keep that up here, and I'll make something with it sometime this week. But this is really easy to do. Like I said, this was the first time I actually canned anything tomato-wise, was last year. And it's really easy. Remember to wipe your lids off and make sure there's nothing on the rims. I'm going to make sure I've got all my air bubbles out. I should have done that before I wiped the rims, or the lids, or the rims, that is. Okay, I'm gonna wipe these off again. And this is really easy to do. You just wash your tomatoes. And then I boil water, and I put the tomatoes in the water to soften the skin. I core them, and then I put an X on the other end of the tomato, and then I immerse them in the hot boiling water. Ooh, that's hot. Anywhere, those tomatoes I had were pretty big, so I let those stay in there probably a good 5 minutes. And then I immerse them in cold water, and you peel the skin off, and then I cut them up and cube them and put them on the stove on high heat, and you let them cook down. And I mash mine with the potato masher, and as I said, I like the thick consistency, and that's all you do. I'm going to keep ladling these and processing these. And this is the way I make my canned tomato sauce. You know, last year when I did this, I actually put them in the roaster. Instead of cooking them on top of the stove, I put them in the roaster and cooked them overnight in the roasting pan. And then the next morning I got up, and my roaster, you can put different heats on it, and I turned it up high and had my tomatoes cooked to the consistency that I like. And that's an easy way to do it also. If you're running out of time, going back and forth to work and trying to process everything in the garden. I'm probably going to get in the garden again one day within the next few days. I know Jeffrey said we have more green beans to pick, and probably going to pick some more tomatoes. Getting my bubbles out. Thank you so much for tuning in. You all have a good evening. This is Angela with Siblings A&J Gardening. Thank you so much for watching and tuning in. We're going to continue to bring you content, and thank you all so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you all for liking and sharing. We really appreciate it. Be blessed.